Hello! A bit of a tech review this one's going to be. Do you remember Oukitel? That phone manufacturer that did a phone with a very big battery, the 22,000 odd milliamp hour one? Well, they talked about having a tablet, and somewhat by surprise it turned up through my door. I say by surprise because they said, oh, we're doing a tablet, and I was like, well, that sounds interesting. That was the only thing I said, and then this showed up. This is the Oukitel OT8 Tablet, and I thought, well, it's here and it's too cold to go outside, so I might as well look at it now. You get a bunch of things in the box. The tablet, USB-C, USB-C cable, the instructions, and a power adapter, although only 18 watts max to say it's USB-C, and this little stylus-y pen thing, which looks very much like the Doogie tablet sort of stuff. Comes with a nice case, seems to have a massive lens on the back, and you get this screen protector built in. So I'm going to take that off, and I have to be careful not to take all of it off, and I want to leave the main screen protector on and just take this outside bit off. I think we're bubble free. I do find that the processor and performance of these sort of mid-range tablets are quite similar. This has got a Unisoc Tiger T606 CPU, an ARM Mali G57 GPU. It quotes itself as having 30 gig of RAM. That is not exactly what it is. It's got 6 gig of RAM, and then it says plus 24 gig. Once again, I haven't checked out the details here, but I think the only way you could claim to sort of borrow more RAM is if you use disk. And although it's like solid state, it's a lot slower than actual RAM, so I don't know, it seems like it's got 6 gigs to me. Pretty big battery, 8,800 milliamp hours, and a 1920 by 1200 pixel screen. 350 nit screen brightness, so it's going to be not so good for outside, but it should be fine for inside. 8 megapixel front camera here, and the rear camera, although there seems to be two of them, says it's 13 megapixels. 11-inch screen size, which seems to be the new norm. I've seen 10s and then 10.8, and now it's all 11s. So I suppose we'll go to close up. We should turn it on and see how it performs and see how it feels to use. Okay, well here's the tablet. I've gone to the sort of effort of trying not to light it up too much. You can see a slight reflection of my light above. We're at the angle, stood up on the case, so it should be front on, giving you the best picture I can get. Now, with these tablets, these mid-range sort of things, I do feel they're very much similar in their basic sort of sense. This I've just set up. I put my sort of Google stuff in, and I downloaded some of the apps. I already had another stuff. And if we go to like Chrome, then what we get is a fairly good browsing experience. We can scroll around, we can zoom in and out, all that, and that's fine. We go to the Amazon deals page. It's all much of a muchness there. Feels pretty good. So I feel one of the tests to do is something like we go on to YouTube and we do a search for some 4K stuff. Not that this can actually show 4K stuff, but it's that sort of listing we're after, I guess. So what we got? Cozy fireplace, best of Dolby Vision 12K HDR. So if we go into this, we can never get through the advert. Okay, we're playing the video. So if we full screen this, and then we want to make sure we're actually trying to show it the highest resolution we can. We're in 1080p. That's as high as it will go. Oh no, this says go to 2160. It hasn't got the resolution to play at 2160, but will it play it? Seems to. Seems to try. This is the interesting thing. Now let me put the stats up. So we are not being able to very comfortably play this. It looks like we're dropping a lot of frames. We're not getting the bandwidth through, even though our connection speed here is 132 megabits per second. It doesn't seem able to handle the 4K video very well. So let's knock this down to 1440. See if it's any better. And you can see the buffers ahead. According to this we've got a 12-second buffer health, but we do keep dropping frames there, so that's not good. Again, let's knock it down to 1080, which is just about its resolution. The resolution is slightly higher than 1080p, but not really. So let's try 1080p. Let's see if we get better stuff. Okay, this is looking better. We've got 9 drop frames, 14. What I would expect with these is when you open the stream and it's still trying to get it, that's when you can pick up some drop frames. In this case, we are dropping 1 or 2 every little while. The picture to me looks fine. I can't see any judders or anything, so it's missing the very odd frame occasionally, but it's not doing bad. The experience you have is okay, but this is showing that it's dropping some frames. It looks like when it's switching scenes, it's dropping it. You can see we've got a massive buffer. We've got a 13-second buffer. We're getting 121 megabits per second. We shouldn't have a problem. I'm guessing just the decode on this can't quite handle everything. Certainly not any higher than 1080p, but you know, it's okay. As experience goes, it looks fine. I can't tell it's dropping stuff, but the stats tell a different story. So if we come out of that, so what I always do is check it on my sim, because my sim is pretty heavy on these sort of low-end graphics processors. As I said, this is kind of vaguely mid-range. It's not fantastic, so we'll see how this goes. There's my light, good reflection. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go in and show the frame counter. At the moment, that's its actual resolution, 1920 by 1200. And you can see we've got a 20 frames per second on medium graphics level. If we actually try and use that, that's quite nasty. To be fair, this is, you know, a very high resolution screen, and this is kind of more of a desktop resolution. So let's see if we can't alter that by changing it down a bit, like 960 by 600, for example. What's that give us? Well, that's a little bit better, 40-ish frames a second, but really we want 60, don't we? So how low are we going to have to drop this? So if we drop graphics to low, oops, and then we drop the resolution once again, 640 by 400, we're talking about standard definition TV screen at this point. And now we're on more towards 60 frames a second. So at least it feels good. It doesn't look too bad. You can see we've got a few jaggies here with the anti-aliasing. You can't get rid of because we're on a very low resolution. So let's try one of the more beefier levels. So if we change that to city, and yeah, I mean, it's edging towards 60 depending what's on screen. Get more buildings on screen, it goes down towards the 30 mark. This isn't actually the most demanding level. If we look at the very last level, Valley, that is more heavyweight than the buildings, because the amount of trees and stuff I've got in there. So if we zoom this, what are we getting here? 30, 40 if we're further away. What are we going to have to do to get that up to a decent frame rate? I mean, I don't want to drop the resolution that low. Oh, it's gone back to medium. That might help us. Okay. Pretty nasty resolution. Those green pixels are supposed to be trees down there. We still can't hit the same frame rate. It's telling me the GPU is not up to much. It's not as good as some of the other stuff I've had. If we zoom far out enough, we'll get 60. I suggest if we go closer to these trees, even though there are not very many polygons at this point, we're going to drop our frame rate down again. Yeah. So the right way of testing this, rather than using my sim, is to use something like a 3D graphics benchmark, and 3D Mark is the one I generally test these things with. So let's go ahead and test it. What do I test it with? Slingshot, isn't it? Where is that? There you go. We test Slingshot, and brilliant, it's gone upside down. Slingshot wants to be up this way apparently. Now I can tell pretty quickly that that frame rate is fairly low, but I'm going to let the whole test execute and we'll see what happens. Okay, we're looking at a sub 10 frames per second for most of this, which is not what I expect. This is pretty poor performance as far as 3D graphics goes, even for one of the, the cheaper end of devices. Looking at an amazing 3.5 frames per second on this part, which is, this is pretty dire. Oh, we're up to the mighty realms of 5 frames a second just for a little while there. Okay, our overall score 1394. That's pretty low, quite honestly. My really old phone that I used to use, my old iPhone XR, did like 5,000 something. How's this stack up against similar mid-range things that I've looked at? I don't think it's very good. We're down here. Other stuff is over there. But apparently we're better than 39% of results from other devices. So there you go. It's not all bad. Yeah, how's that stack up against other tablets I've looked at here? Well, the last tablet I looked at was the Oukitel T30 Pro, and this looks a lot better, between looking like about 17 to 20 frames per second on the first test and about 15 on the next, and it comes up with 3059, which is more than double the performance of the Oukitel. To be fair, the Doogie is currently $239, whilst the Oukitel is only $159, so perhaps we're looking at mid-range versus the low-end stuff. Elsewhere we've got stuff like the little pen. That seems to work. I'm not sure if I'd use this over just using my finger, but the tablet seems to handle it fine, and that's okay. This is an example of the front-facing camera. I'm in my room, so I've got artificial light. It looks to me pretty noisy, not the greatest, but perfectly doable for sort of, video calls and stuff like that. That would work okay. And here we are outside videoing in natural light, in landscape. Not sure how that's going to look, but rapid movement. See how the microphone is as well. And I shot this still image of my rusting barbecue, which comes out by default with a resolution of 2592 by 1944. I'm sure there's other modes. I just looked at it and I wasn't particularly impressed with it, so I didn't want to carry on because I don't think this is going to be your main photography thing in any case. Well, in the world of tablets, this is also one. Here's the thing. It's a basic tablet. You can do web surfing on it, you can do your email, you can watch YouTube, you can play your basic Android games if you want to. That's about it. As far as like productivity goes, I thought the microphone was pretty nasty. If you heard that stuff when I was recording myself, it was pretty bad, and I had to boost the volume just to get it up to anything. I don't think the camera's particularly good. And then I thought, am I being too critical of it? Because if this is like a low-end device, should we expect more from it? But just looking at Amazon, I can get a 10-inch tablet for like under 50 quid. Now, it's probably not as good as this, but if you're looking on the basic end and you just do want to do like web surfing, email and stuff, then you can probably get similar for cheaper. But, if this is your bag, this is also a tablet that can do stuff. Just not much of things I would use it for, the sort of productivity stuff, the more higher end 3D graphic stuff. This isn't the tablet for you. But anyway, this was supplied by Oukitel, whether I wanted them to send it to me or not, and thus here is the review. It's a tablet. I don't think it's particularly good, but it is available on the link down below if you want to check it out. Now, one thing I would say, because all these tablets that I seem to get sent are all much of a muchness, this should be the last tablet review you'll see from me, so celebrate, because there's nothing much to change them. It's all going to be like, yeah, they can do the basics, but they can't do anything particularly well other than that, and that's a bit boring for me to make and a bit boring for you to watch, so no more tablet reviews. Anyway, hope that's helpful. I'll catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.